Right, anyway, let's get back to your...
Now you can watch a real trash player play.
um, I don't know how much stream delay there is for you, but do you want me to share in Discord so it's like real time?
I think that would be best if I could, if you could just share screen if that doesn't, lag too much for you. But if it does, then I can just watch on the delay.
Okay. Alright, you see it? Do you see the stream?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And let me close the E just so stuff is running okay. My mouse is a little bit laggy, but that should be fine. I'm just... Okay, so this is a 1v1 between Minimoult and Minimoult, apparently, but no, it's actually Samwise playing French and Minimoult playing Dutch, and it's on the map Herald Island, aka Arctic Territories. So the reason I chose this gameplay was because one, he got off to a good start, but it was just I've already quickly skim watched the rec, but he got off to a good start, and then it was a way of throwing his lead versus someone quite like a top caliber player, and I just want to go over a few things. And just see how he goes. So yeah, I'm just gonna launch it. Is it launching? Yeah, okay. It's taking a bit of time. There we go. Okay, so you have 2 coin treasures, that's good. You have 2 wood crates, that's just normal EP Dutch stuff. What was going through your head? What sort of plan were you thinking? Or have you not come up with one just yet?
So against France, I mean, you kind of have a couple different ideas that you want to do.
Yeah.
You can either go kind of a greedier build if you see like a barracks and he's staying in base, but I feel like almost always you want to open cav in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. Especially on a map like this, you want to sort of be sort of aggressive, I think. Because he can stagecoach quite easily because he can take that 30p. So, okay, so you see you scouted this 50 wood, right? And you've got a wood crate on the floor. I feel like you can just drop a market and get hunting dogs really quickly off of that.
In this case, it's definitely worth it. I
Yeah.
think Keister did the math, and he says if you find if you have like 2 coin treasures in base, and then if you have the 50 wood.
Well, no matter
actually do the market.
Yeah, so no matter what, you're gonna get 15 vil idlers, I think, and you might as well just get hunting dogs as well, and just get that hunting dogs rolling, and means you save 100 wood on building a market later as well. So your 700 wood doesn't have to be spent into that. So yeah, you're doing. Oh, that's unfortunate seeing the scout there, but it is a good idea to go around when he's not in line of sight. I see too many. I'm going to pause it here actually. So I'm going to use my mouse on the screen. A lot of people would just go straight towards the treasure to try and get there as quickly as possible. Now what you've done is gone all the way around the outside, out of his line of sight in theory, but it was just unfortunate his native scout was there. And you've also brought your envoy round, which I like as well, because it means you have the opportunity to pull trick towards the treasure. And I think you did. I can't remember. I think you did or tried to.
So when you're pull tricking with just 2 units, if you select the unit that you want to pull to first, and then shift click and grab your other unit, you will always pull trick.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the trick that I was doing. I don't remember if I get this treasure or not, but I think it's pretty close.
But to be honest, having just the sheer threat of being able to steal it for him is obviously going to put him in a slight panic. It's sort of like the mind games at this point. If you're sprinting towards the treasure, there's always the opportunity. You might misclick in a panic if you aren't even close enough. But I think he might be, because he's still got 2 wolves left, and I think he used this crack shot already. So we're just going to see how this plays out. There you go, nice portrait, you got that going. I think you should have just let that. Let me pause that again. Sorry. You should have just let that go. I think you just clicked too many times, and then you just stopped doing the pulling. If you just leave it, I think he just goes all the way to the unit itself, and that way it doesn't stop and then go again. You just keep going until you actually reach the unit. So this is good by you. You've got the presence. I'm going to full screen this actually. Don't need the chat. You got the presence here, and also I think your explorer plus the envoy beats his explorer and the native scout in a straight up fight. So it's on him
you have the HP advantage for sure.
Yeah, you have the HP advantage, and the envoy is just better than the scout in a straight up fight. So you have it's up to Sam to kill this quicker. You can just do as much damage as possible to Sam. Normally it would be good to shoot the wolf and then pick it up, but I think just doing as much damage as possible here is quite good. Oh, you did do that anyway, but you managed to get it, so that's good anyway. So that's a nice swing. His explorer isn't the highest HP as well, so you could potentially hunt that guy down in early colonial. Are you going for that? What's that treasure? I think that's 75 wood.
I think that's another 75 wood treasure, yeah.
So Jesus, you've got such a good start actually this game. So right about now, actually no, not quite, but soon you want to be scouting his base. See what his distribution is, how many vills he's got on coin, how many vills he's got on food. Usually around 7 or 8 vills is cav opening, and then any other vills on coin would be a musk opening, and I highly doubt he'll go for a bow pike versus Dutch, but you never know. I like what you're doing. You've got a wood crate, you're getting a wood treasure, so you don't actually need to gather that much wood. You probably need to gather quick maths, 75 wood or something, I think.
Yeah, it was something like that, 75 or 50. I mean, it's just a very good H1.
Yeah, nice slick. You got slick macro for it as well, just on time. So I think no matter what, I think you should do 700 wood as Dutch. I think bank wagon's not eco enough, and I think you can get 5 husks whilst doing 700 wood anyway. So I just feel like there's no point of doing bank wagon. I can't remember if you did bank wagon or not, but if you do wood, then that's good. So right now, I'm going to pause it here. So it's 3:46, and your scouts are not anywhere near his base right now. And I know picking up treasures and stuff is good. I don't know if you're sending this envoy into his base right now, but I think you should be right under his TC with it, because it's obviously inefficient to garrison to kill the envoy. But he probably would still do it just because of how valuable that unit is. You shouldn't underestimate the power of the envoy. But you should really need to be scouting as a distribution. And if not, then I'd honestly be camping the second TP as well. That's the advantage you have of having 2 scouting units. And I assume you know this already, but it's just stuff you always forget in game.
Yeah, exactly. It's the small things.
Yeah, and also I honestly just send a vill to the top left, because there's usually a hunt up there, and this one to the far right is kind of too far for the moment. And it's okay. So you see the vill herding. That's not a big deal. So your envoy should be going right in, and French should be up anytime soon. Okay, so there's 2 vills. I would follow that with the hero, and then just leave the envoy in his base, or just outside his base, and then come back in when his first shipment arrives. You gotta get the native scout, that's good. 700 wood first, that's good as well. Do you build a second bank with this 400 wood? No, you go stable. Okay.
I go stable because I saw the forward vills.
Okay, that makes sense. So there's 2 ways of playing this, I think. There's obviously a forward vills, right?
Yep.
But I think you can get away with building a second bank. This would be the second bank with the 400 wood, because he's obviously got to take 30 seconds to train his Huss, it's 30 seconds to train. No, it's 40. Sorry, it's 40 seconds to train the Huss. So that's obviously 40 seconds from his stable to your base that you have time to like eco. So I think if you do like the delayed Huss, and by which point you have the XP from the second bank, you'd be able to have 8 pikes on the way as well. And you could easily bait him or just go push with the 5 Huss and 8 pike. But this is where you need to be in his base and scouting whether he's going wood first or 4 Vils. Because if he's doing wood, that means he's kind of doing like the anti-rush from the Dutch. So if he, let's just say for like a scenario, he does 4 Vil, he goes forward stable, and you scout the 4 Vil and no 700 wood, you're obviously going to go 5 Huss, 8 pike, because that will just crush the stable. But if he goes wood, then he'd add the racks with the stable at the forward base, and he has the potential to either even just cancel a couple of Huss for like a full batch of musks, or just get a decent batch of both. And then your 5 Huss and 8 pike push is just going to be completely useless because he's just going to be kiting with 5 musk and stuff. So this is where like the scouting is key, because you really need, because Dutch is like the main reactive civ, and you've got to react to what French does. So what I call the standard build versus Dutch as French is the 700 wood, start stable, train some Huss, add a barracks, add a second TP, and maybe stagecoach off of the back of that, because Dutch can't really pressure the racks. So, but as I think he's gone wood first this game.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, because I think he had. I skim watched it, so I think I'm just going to play it a little bit, but I think he had the barracks going down early.
So he starts stable, and then I see the stable. That's what my scout was doing.
Yeah, that was good, but I think the shipment is key here.
Exactly, you need to figure out what that shipment is.
Yeah, so if he goes wood first, then I'd honestly just boom with banks myself and just get 3 banks before you even build the stable. And the reason being is that he's obviously going to try and stagecoach with that wood. He can't get obviously 5 musk, 5 husk constantly with wood first. So you have a bit more time. He can't really pressure you that hard with like small batches, and then that way you can just bank boom and then follow up with a time and push a bit later. But what you're doing here is just sort of a blind 5 husk, 8 pike. So you don't know if he's got a racks up or not. It's a smart idea because he obviously started stable and he might not be expecting this sort of early pressure. And okay, this is perfect. So he's got a barracks going down now, and you got your 5 husk on the way. I think you're able to deny this before his husks come out. Actually, no, his husk should be out. But okay, there they are. So you're gonna kill 2 Vils, and then you're gonna save 4 husks probably. I'd snare with the hero as well, just to make sure you get out of the. Let me go back actually. So here, your hero should be in melee attacking like one of these 2 husks here, and that will slow down the entire group. Obviously.
Just to make sure those 4 husks get out.
Yeah, because he re-snared you, and I feel that you can obviously get away by like moving the 3 unsnared ones away and then pull tricking the last one. But just to be extra safe, I'd actually just snare one, just get your hero on these husks, because he's just going to try and chase you down, try and catch you. And I think your hero's in like sword swinging range here, or will be if he moved a bit further forward. And yeah, your idle envoy should be in his base, but we've already covered that. So you've got your 8 pike on the way. His barracks isn't even up, so that's really good for you. And you can also see he's got a second TP, so he's going to be trying to go for that stagecoach play. So I think what you did was good with the early Huss. It was kind of a gamble, but it paid off. So yeah, it's just unfortunate you get snared here, but yeah, this one gets snared. So what you do is just, you're moving your screen too fast, god damn it. So here, that back one's being snared. These 3 should be moved a bit further forward, like you'd ungroup that last one, but you don't turn him back. You just don't turn him back.
Yeah.
So you just drag box around the first 3, move forward. These ones will be unsnared, and then this back one would still be snared, and then you just sort of pull trick this 4th one into the formation with the other 3, and then they all get away, and he can't snare you. I'm not sure if you do that, but that's always a good thing to do. I think you're trying to do it now. No? Okay. So that was good, that 2 pulling there. Yeah, so you're trying to do it, but it was just a wee bit too late. Here come the pike. Yeah, that's good. I just probably moved. I wouldn't attack because you... Okay, I need to go back again. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So you know when you attack, they sort of sometimes lag behind. Like if you just click on a unit, they sort of stop and then lag behind a little bit. I think what you're supposed to do is just sort of move them up as far as possible. Because it's like when you're chasing like other Huss. If you're like moving your Huss, like if you're clicking like further forward, they seem to move faster or something. Because like when they attack, if you just right click, they sort of lag behind and try and attack one at a time, and they don't attack in a
they
like
kind of break their formation.
Yeah, it breaks their formation. So like some lag behind. This one will attack, but these 2 Huss, for example, won't.
Yeah.
And the pike, Samwise is obviously a solid player. He's going to turn back when he sees these pikes.
Mm-hmm.
But the counterplay to that would be just like, you've got the snare off. And I think pikes can catch up with Huss if they're snared. Especially by other Huss, because, yeah.
Yeah, one pike should catch up to a snared Huss.
Yeah, exactly. So... And like you said, they sort of deformation, and only the front one seems to move at the correct speed. And the way you sort of counteract that that sort of function is you just right click, like sort of in front of the Huss, like keep spamming right click.
Yeah. And
that way they sort of all move forward together as a formation, and then that way you can get better hits off. You might not even catch all of them, but you're most certainly going to get all like as much hits off as possible. You can even put this hero in melee as he's coming towards you. I'm surprised he's still alive, by the way, but he just is. So I'd actually have him pre-ready in melee mode to try and catch him from the other side. I'm not sure if you do this. It looks like you do, which is good. So you get the snare off. The Huss, I think that heal sort of fucked you, which is unfortunate. So yeah, Bankwagon next. And I'd start sieging the racks and have the Huss like behind the pikes, because you don't want to have his Huss poking you, especially he can easily pop like another batch and try and clean up your Huss. Yeah, and he's out. Yeah, there you go. So I'd never siege from his side of production, especially with this pathing as well. I'd always siege from like a safe location. So behind here, he can easily pop like a batch of musks on your Huss, and even if you like react like immediately, he's still going to get a couple of hits in melee, which is just not good. The other option would be he'd have his stable rally point here. His other Huss coming to... He did this really well, actually. He timed it perfectly. He came from this side, because if you reacted properly and saw him coming from this way, you'd just be able to get out of there. But he timed it perfectly with this batch, and he managed to get the snare off. I think you get away just because you got pikes here ready and stuff, but that could have gone way worse than it actually did. But yeah, I'd honestly always siege from your sort of side, so to speak, because he could easily just trap you like this. It could have gone much worse, but your hero was in a good position as well. Like, the hero is actually quite a valuable unit in these sorts of fights, even though it doesn't look like he's got much HP. So you see 3 crossbows. I just honestly put the one pike that he's targeting in cover mode and just siege the rest. And yeah, I'd go in, I think. Like, get the pikes right in there, because I think you can take this fight. And I think you're doing the same thing again, I think, where they sort of just lag behind.
Yeah, I need to stop right clicking.
Yeah, so what you've been doing is just right clicking on the Huss, right?
Yep.
Which obviously makes sense. But if you kind of really want to move your pikes in there before you attack, and this way he's able to get like good kiting shots. He's only got 3 bows, but he's going to kill at least a couple of pikes before you fully engage, which is obviously quite good worth.
Because I was thinking at this point I needed to at this point I should have just pulled back in hindsight.
Yeah. Well,
because like I got 2 bills and I got a barracks.
Yeah, so there's like 2 options here, I think. One, you try and take this fight like really quickly, like really punish him for this sort of poor composition. If he had 5 musk or even 5 pike, it would be a bit better, I think. But he just fucked up the batch, and it wasn't like the right unit choice, I think. So what you can do is either one, fully commit to this and try and get the best trade possible. It's the more risky play, but you obviously had the counter composition, you had the right units, you had like 5 or 6 hus and 8 pike versus 7 hus and 3 bows. You easily clean that fight. But the safe play would also be to just siege the stable, or the safer play would just be just to go back. And I think all 3 were fine, but I think I remember this fight. I think you sort of were just like hesitant, I think. And if you got like a melee composition, like this is literally full melee. If you got a melee composition, you either full commit or you just don't commit at all. I think you sort of did this like half-assed commit, and you kept going back and forth, and he was just trading off like bow shots on your pikes, which is just not something you want. I'm just going to let it play it out. So he gets a free shot there, and then he gets another free shot, you pull back the pikes, then you try and re-engage. And yeah, I think you're over-microing Huss a bit there, and then the pikes are sort of doing the same right-click lag behind thing. Like, I'm trying to play it out again. So, damn it. If this was a recorded game, it might be a bit easier, actually. So I'm trying to get to the right spot. So here you just right click that Huss, right? And now there's like 3 pikes back here, 3 pikes here, and then 2 pikes here. If you just went like full, so they're like in like a vertical formation, they're just like full on charging towards him. He's gonna, not only is it better, but it's also gonna make him sort of panic as well, because there's gonna be like units right in front of his face just trying to get to him. At this point, he's sort of like safe. He's not safe, but he's like more chilled because the pikes aren't really right on top of the Huss. And here, I think you're over microing the cab a bit, and then the pikes are lagging behind again. I just press your control group 2 and then just run straight in. But yeah, we've covered that enough. But yeah, this is what I mean. You sort of wasted a bit of time, and then Sam's going to call Minutemen. Yeah. So this is actually fairly close to his base. I think you could have taken the fight a little bit closer to his barracks if you just went in. But look, as you said, the safest play would be either just siege the stable or just go back.
Yeah.
And I think going back would be the best option, because he could have popped another batch of 5 cav, and then use his 7 other cav and 3 bows to sort of clean you up. So I think the safest play would be to go back. I probably would have tried and taken the fight there and just trade off my H2 units whilst I aged behind. Or I would have just actually I probably would have shipped 3 Huss and added 5 more, because his Rax is dead. And the only other shipment he can send is either 3 Huss himself or 8 bows.
Yep.
So he's not going to have any anti-cav, and if you've got 8 Huss coming across and he's just called Minutemen and stuff like that, you're going to have a better reinforcement batch. But as you get cleaned up here, you are just a little bit behind. He even gets like a good hero snare off on you and gets an extra Huss because of that. And now this is like the situation where you're in a bit of trouble, because he's got two stagecoach TPs. He's most likely going to add the 3rd one. Your hero's dead, so you can't actually go steal the 3rd one. I'd actually buy him back here, honestly, and just build that TP.
That. Yeah.
Because so the reason being is you got 3 Huss on the way, the TP's near your base, and he's not going to have any pikes or musks to go and siege that. And you can obviously buy time with the 8 Huss you've got and the 5 you got over here as well if he tries to siege it.
And it also just denies him.
Yeah, it denies him 4 vills. You get 4 vills yourself, and you can put that on wood or whatever you want. And it gives like the opportunity of what Ryan says is house fighting. So you sort of like keep poking at the sort of foundation of that building. And he's going to try. He wants to go and siege that down, but he also doesn't want to get any free hits off on his units. So he's going to be like constantly actively looking at his army, make sure he's putting back the Huss that aren't that are most vulnerable, like the closest to your TC. And so if you keep poking in, he's pulling back all these Huss. He's going to siege that TP down a bit slower. So no matter what, if you've got less Huss and you're poking him, it's still going to be always a good idea. Because if you're on top of your units, he's not going to snare you. And you're going to obviously delay the TP sieging. And you can also have potential to call Minutemen as well. Okay, so you see a lot of Huss. I just go back here to your base. This is rough. I wouldn't have engaged that. You're almost away. But yeah, it's just looking a bit rough right now. So those 4 Huss are going to get out of there. Just somehow not get snared. Your herding is a bit of a mistake. Is fucking up as well. Okay, let's pause here. So
my herding's a mess, and then...
Yeah, so this all went to like shit really fast actually. So you got your Huss caught and your herding went bad, and obviously in these sorts of games herding can't always be on point. But I think this envoy's been idle this entire game, right? And I feel like if he's not in the base scouting, then he should be at least trying to find your hunt on the left side, because there almost always is one there. You could even just send a Vill in the blackness just to start herding, because there should be a hunt over there. And it's quite safe. These ones on the front are quite vulnerable. And you probably have like an eye on these, on the ones on the front. But if you have on the left, then you probably don't need to pay as much attention to them. Just because you could get that quite close to your TC.
I think at this point I just run out of
steam. Yes, but I still think it's not completely over. I still think the
game's still close. It's just at this point what you need to do is you need to have your vills. Like you just have to have the awareness that certain things are going on. Like I should have just pulled my cap back. There was no reason to run them forward.
Also,
what I needed to do is re-macro some of my vills to get my just go and get some hunting done and
but
do some macro things at the time.
This sort of for sure. But obviously it's hard to macro when you're constantly microing your units. But this is where you try to do a bit of both. And I think you should prioritize the Huss getting away. Or at least if you do get caught, you're getting caught in his base, so you have a bit more time. Because if Sam splits off his Huss appropriately and correctly, it should be very hard for you to escape unless you split your Huss as well. But if you were sort of forced into this direction, but then your Huss sort of stopped, I think. I don't know if they stopped or if he snared you around, but I think they stopped.
Yeah, I thought I had shift-clicked them down. I think I tried to shift-click them down, like, towards his town. And then I just missed one of them or something.
Yeah, they
ended up turning around.
Yeah, I saw on the minimap they just... okay, this is... You just making it worse, I think, trying to trample mode that.
Trying to
trolly.
do too much.
Yeah, just trying to do too much when there's, like, better things to prioritize right now, like your herding and getting these guys away. It's not even worth trying to kill the Minutemen, honestly. You're better off just escaping with those 3 husks. They weren't snared. And he might get an extra shot off, but you still get all 3 of them away, I think. And, so if they didn't stop, you could just run them all the way around. At the very least for you, he'd catch you at his TC, you got more time. And if not, then you'd be able to get away, because it's not like excuse me, it's not like a batch from the stable could catch you, pop out and catch you. he's going to be having cav that he already has on the field to catch you. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. So yeah, and then I would just try and get away as much as possible, because this is just a lot of resources invested into Huss.
Yeah.
And you ended up losing almost all of them. Yeah, you lost 3 out of 4, when I think you could have even just got away with 1. Got away with losing 1. This was good, but you need to be careful of another batch, but I'd probably pull back now, because you're not going to snare those. He's also got the Minutemen. I just try and hunt down the Minutemen and pull back, I think, because he's got the 5 Huss at the top of the map. They're currently raiding you now. This batch might save you though, but this, you got to remember, this is also delaying your age up. And playing a long colonial versus French is not what you want to do, especially when he's got stagecoach and stuff, and you've only got 3 banks at this point. Which brings me back to my old point of you building that stable quite early on this gamble to take down the racks. It worked out well for you, but I feel like if you didn't do that, you could have 4 banks right now, and he'd have obviously the barracks up and some mosques, but you'd have 4 banks, and you'd probably be able to steal that 3rd TP as well. And you could also just delay the Huss and ship 8 pikes after a bank wagon. So you got 700 wood, bank wagon, 8 pike, and the 8 pike would arrive at the perfect time, usually. But you built your stable before the bank, your 2nd bank even. Usually I build it after the 3rd bank, and that way you have the 2 banks up. You get a shit ton of XP from them, and then you'd be able to ship the bank wagon before the 8 pikes. Because your build, it was good. It was kind of all in, I guess. But the thing is, if you got the banks up, you obviously get more shipments in, right? So if you got those 2 extra banks, which I think it's like 240 XP or something like that, maybe 230. I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah. But, I mean, yeah, it's still a lot of XP.
It's a lot of XP, yeah. You'd be able to ship probably an extra shipment between the 700 wood and the 8 pike. And that would just be an extra bank, right? And then the extra bank would propel you to your next shipment, which would be the 8 pikes. It might be a bit late to deny the FB, but it will 100% deny the last TP of the stagecoach, especially as it's so close to your TC. And in that sense, you have 4 banks, a TP of your own, and the potential to age up, because you obviously still got hunts in your base at that point, and you're not just trading Cav late H2. He could even send Cav HP or something, just because it's been like, it's a 9:30 minute colonial, which is fine, but you're not even close to aging, so it's just not going to work out for you, I think. You might be able to catch these Huss at the top. I don't know if this is a Huss batch or a group of Vils, but I think there's Huss heading over there. Yeah, there's 3 more, so you could potentially go and catch him. So, okay, so I think you've... Yeah, okay. So these 3 Huss that were going this way, I assume they went up top, but not entirely sure. But I think you should have... I think you snared him here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should have had the 3 Huss that were at the mini-map, in the mid-map, try and head those off. Because at this point, you've lost a lot of cav for free, and you need to sort of get some cav back for free. And you need to really punish this sort of overcommitment raid that he did. And obviously, trying to head him off in several directions, like from here and from here, would be the best way to get that done. But you sort of just let him go for free. You also don't have any vision of this of the left side. What I do on this particular map is actually have a Vil herding. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yeah, Vil herding up there at the top.
Vil herding up there, and then you are housed at 50 pop for a while. So this house going down now, I'd actually have it here. Yeah. On the crossing where there's no ice, and that way you can see any Huss literally coming to attack these villas, because usually these villas are quite safe because there's only one passage to go through there, and if you've got line of sight here, you're going to know when to pull them back. But excuse me. But as you have no line of sight, no awareness of the herd being here, you're hunting mid-map, which makes you probably quite scared to age up at this point. I assume. I think that's why you're staying H2, just because you lost a bunch of cav and you're hunting mid-map. I think you have to make cav here. But yeah, so it's kind of like all these small things adding up.
Yep.
To your disadvantaged position. It looks like you got more score, but I mean that's just Dutch, I think, because the banks inflate your score.
I think I didn't have a plan at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with one, but mine would be to probably ship food. I think you can't really guarantee you get 1k food. You just probably have to pull some vills back and gather coin and ship 700 food and then try and age up. I think it's your only option here. He doesn't have that third TP yet, so Zico's not fully in overdrive, but obviously it's still pretty good. It's probably matching yours, if not it's better, because you've only got the 3 banks up. And you've only got the stable as well, and he has both military buildings, so he's just properly set up, and I think you're just a bit lagging behind in terms of infrastructure and sort of economic potential. Also, this market here and the hunting dogs that you got, those 150 res could have been saved from the H1 as well. So it's just these little things that add up that really just put you in a I can't even say it. Not in a good position.
Yeah, so I sent the 700 food.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, so they were the Huss. So we didn't actually go up the top, so you could have probably headed them off here instead of trying to raid down here. I mean, sure, you probably get a Vil, but you don't know where the rest of his cav mass is. So it's kind of a risky play rather than just getting those free cav, I think. Especially, like, you had a lot of line of sight. You even had the Envoy here. You had the Vils and, like, the 3 Huss here and the 5 Huss here. So yeah, you probably could have headed those off because he didn't go all the way round. But yeah, I covered that already. But this was good. You get a Vil, you get a Huss, or probably 2. No, just 1. Oh, what's going on? You fighting that? Oh my god. Okay. So obviously you don't want to fight that because it's like right in his face. He's got more cav than you. These 3 Huss shouldn't be going in. I just pull back now in age, I think. I'd even cancel the shipment here, I think, at this point. Because you really need to get, like, a tempo advantage, like 9 Reuters, and you've also got the food almost ready. And if you think about it, if you went herding out here, you'd probably have already the resources to age up.
Exactly, because the walking time is crazy for...
Yeah, so what you've basically...
17 bills in the mid-map.
Yeah, exactly. So what you've basically done is just sent a shipment to cover up. People think, like, of course not herding is bad, but this is just like, it's costing you an extra shipment to actually age. I would have shipped 700 food in that position as well, but then once I saw that I had, like, competent food, I think you got steel traps, which is good. But in this position, I'd actually just would have cancelled the shipment there.
Yeah, I think I was doing too much.
Yeah.
Migrating down here that I didn't. I sent it and I didn't realize I was close enough to cancel it.
Yeah, and this is what I mean though. You sort of put yourself in that position where you couldn't handle it because you went to go pressure his base. I assume you thought he was aging, but he obviously killed a lot of your cav, so the cav numbers would have been fairly equal. And I think rather than going to his base where you can't get anything done, I would have just tried and either camp the 3rd TP or just try and either siege the 2nd TP or just protect your hunting vills, I think. And then that way you would have realised, oh, I've got the resources to age without shipping 700 food. And that way I'd be able to ship 9 Reuters immediately and push out with my 9 Huss and 9 Reuters. And that way you'd be able to have like some sort of tempo at least, rather than just constantly being on the back foot from now on. So you've got good vision with the hero and the vills and stuff. So now you're pulling back the vills. It's kind of like the herding thing again. So this is like huge. I wouldn't be sending these Hus to raid at all. I think he's got more cav, and yeah, he's just gonna catch you. I think there's no point in deleting more Hus. But as this scenario is played out, the only way I see you getting back into this game is probably some sort of Reuter Falk play. So you see he's up, he's building a barracks and base.
Losing more
Hus, which was a bit unnecessary. You see he's gathering there. So imagine if your herding was a bit better. You'd probably have the 9 Hus and the 9 Reuters on the field, or almost. You'd certainly be up earlier than he would be, I think. And imagine if you scouted that entire side with the envoy. You would just send those 9 Hus and the 9 Reuter to just head those vills off. And even if you don't kill them, you'd idle them.
Yeah, all of his ecos right there.
Yeah, literally like all his food ecos right there, because you scared him off the right hunt. I guess that was one good thing of your cav play. That over-aggressive cav play was that you scared him off the right hunts. The right side hunts, I mean. So now he's gathering on the left, which is a bit more exposed, as he doesn't have any line of sight, I think. He might do, I'm not sure at this point, but yeah, if you just ran down your cav and just went to that location, you'd just force him off food and just force his batches to be a bit weaker. The fortress, which is just anything you can get is good at this point. So now I wouldn't drop down at Raxir, because there's no way you're going to get outmass 3 TP French with an uncontested eco at like no vills killed or anything like that. And this is what I mean. This is another thing from the over-aggressive Hus. If you had those 9 Hus alive, he wouldn't be able to idle your entire eco right here. So he's only got 9 Hus himself. And your cat, I'm fine with like raiding with a couple on the map, but you gotta be careful, because one, he's fortress already, which means he's gonna have dragoons out shortly, and 2, he's gonna, once he sees like your Hus, so he saw like 3 Hus pass his stable, he's gonna be like, okay, he's got no defense at home, he might have 5 Hus and Minutemen at max, and 9 Hus can clean that anyway. Sorry. And yeah, so he's
by me raiding, I actually
his raid
to be rated better.
Yeah, his raid is just
fine. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like his raid's just gonna be a better raid. So
yeah,
it's better if I just stay at home to counter the raid.
Yeah, because that way, if he does try and overcommit, you can like Hus and Minutemen him. But yeah, he's currently idling like 26 vills or 25 vills, which is literally like over half your eco at this point, just with like a simple cav raid, whilst your cav raids are currently doing nothing, but if they did go to the bottom left, I guess they'd idle some, but there's only a short amount of time before goons come out anyway, because he's probably just pressed the dragoon button the moment he hit H3 anyway. And his stable's fairly close by, and he even had Hus ready for use, so that was a good play by him. He saw you scouted that hunt earlier and realised that, okay, that's a weak spot in my eco, so I'm just going to position some Hus there. And yeah, these Hus in your base are just sort of idling 16 vills for basically no reason. But yeah, this is where I drop an artillery foundry. I understand like adding skirms and then trying to eventually see if you can get ahead in skirms with skirm combat, but you're going to be behind in the skirm count.
Too far behind.
He's going to be spamming from 2 Raxes, from his 3 TP Stagecoach eco, his CDB eco. Only getting steel trapped now, by the way. I thought you got it earlier, but I guess I was mistaken. So here I would have an artillery foundry, and I probably would be sending 1 cable wood and just try and get as many cannons out as possible in a defensive position, and then some Reuters as well. And that's the issue. He's got a good massive dragoons, so that could be a bit scary if you did do Reuter Falk, because you don't have enough skirms, but you still got Minutemen, and potentially with the wood you could drop a second stable as well, or even a barracks and just go skirm Reuter cannon. But yeah, I just don't see it coming back in the skirm count at this point, because he's obviously spamming from so many buildings at this point because he's got such a good eco. And also the macro would be perfect now to drop like another bank with the wood as well, so you could just drop a stable, a bank, and then just try and get as many cannons out as possible. But yeah, this push is again risky, but you kind of have to do something, I guess. But this is kind of where it's looking a bit dire for you, I think.
Yeah, he built the forward rack, so it's like I need to send 8 skirms and try to. Yeah. Because I figured he did 1k wood. But
yeah. Actually, I don't think. No, there's no need to go 1k wood. I don't think
he did. Yeah, because he has 3 TP.
Yeah, I think he did 8 skirms here. Yeah, he definitely did 8 skirm there.
And at this point, I'm just. Down.
Yeah, at this point you're like sort of outmatched in skirms, so. He's obviously got a decent dragoon count as well, so there's not big raid. So this is what I was coming to earlier. If you had like a house, or even like a wall on this ice, not ice, this sort of snowy platform.
No. Yep.
This could be totally avoided. And then now you have to pull back all these 15 vills. So it's not only that your eco is behind. It's also being idled. I know this is the result of the early game, you just got less units overall, but there's like ways to counteract this, I think. I mean, you could have Vil HP as well, but that's not the biggest deal in this situation. It's more about that line of sight. Because if you look at the line of sight on the map, you just got your base, and then there's just this random envoy. Like, so I there's just been sort of like a lack of scouting this game.
Yep.
Which
I think scouting's a big piece that I need to work on.
Yeah. And there should be like no excuse to not scout, especially when you have 2 scouts.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know like building the house on this sort of plateau here makes sense. It seems obvious. But you just don't think about that in game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when you're building a house, it's in between like raiding or migrating your units, and a lot of times you just throw it down to wherever you're closest for my wood gathering villager.
Yeah, exactly.
But to make like a conscious decision to say, all right,
that just comes with
our next house needs to be over here because we need line of sight over here or something.
Yeah, so the good way, the best way I'd say of like improving that sort of skill, because I believe it is a skill, there's like certain players that do house line of sight much better than others. And funnily enough, they're all Brit players, so they're like Spadel, Canoosh, people like that. Optimus Prime as well, plays a lot of Brit, does a really good job of getting house line of sight all over the map. And I think practicing your Brit would be it will just become instinctive just to do that. It will just become like a habit just to build houses out. I know sometimes they can be exposed, but you can like weigh out the matchup. Like, can they kill this house easily? That sort of thing. Yeah. What were you saying?
It's always worth it. Just giving that few extra seconds to. I'm saying it's almost always worth it because it gives you a few extra seconds to react to those raids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It'll save bills.
Like, picture this location, right? You literally had no seconds. You had like a millisecond. And you only reacted when there was a sound cue, because obviously being able to see it on the minimap here and then attacking Vils here is literally like half a second, not even. So you're just giving yourself no time to react at all. And this is where all your Vils are. Like, this is like the only quote-unquote safe gathering you have right now, because you can't go on the right side of the map, because I assume he scouted it all with his native scout, so he'll see in the Fog of War.
And he also has the 3 TP stagecoach.
And he's got the third TP, yeah, exactly. So you'd have to run by his third TP, which actually gives a lot of line of sight by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But also like the occasional stagecoach run by as well would see your vills, so that's always like a risky play, so you can't really gather there, and this is like the only location you can be. So yeah, that was just to counteract that raid. To counteract the your position from like behind, you have to sort of try something.
Yeah.
And going for the skirm war, when you know he's just going to be massing more skirms anyway, is just not going to be possible. So I'd honestly try cannons here, because Huss isn't going to cut it either, because he's got enough goons. And the best thing you can hope out of that would be that he suicides his goons onto the cannons, and then you try and trade as many goons per cannons as possible whilst your cannons are firing at his skirm. See that Green...
He does the exact thing.
He does exactly what... So Sam's a good brick player himself. So he's done it. Because he knows he had his vills down there for a while. He might even be gathering that mine now. Because he just switched his food vills onto that mine, and then like some coin mines onto a food on the right or something like that. Just a quick macro switch when that hunt ran out. So he's just built a house here. He left the vill out there, which is quite a common mistake.
I think it's a herding vill. I think there's a hunt there.
But think about it this way: he lost one vill to save about 15 others. Well, I say 15 to save 15 from moving off the hunt, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like 15 vills worth of gathering time. Because raiding's not all about just killing vills; it's also stopping them from gathering. So he's got the Huss on the left side now, and basically those vills are not dead, but they're basically dead because they're not gathering at all. And he's just going to head those off with his goons, but goons and Huss, and it's kind of like over at this point. But if you pull those back earlier, they wouldn't be dying right now. And the Reuters, I don't know how you passed by those Huss actually. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, I think he had them up at the top.
And you had them like down here, and you went round, didn't you? Yeah. They somehow passed each other, I think, or you just went around the other way. But yeah, now it's just sort of like looking dire. But the best thing you can sort of hope for is, I hope he suicides like as many dragoons as you hope on his whilst killing the cannons, and then you sort of try and do a Huss switch, I think. But that would be like the only counterplay I see from this point, I think. You have got... Well, you did have that safe left mine, and this mine you're gathering on now would be sort of safe as well, so it would also offset the fact that you don't have the best food situation right now, and you just have banks gathering coin and also those 20 vills or so. So you'd be able to get a decent amount of cannons out just to thin out this skirm mass. But he could also, if you were going right to Falk, because you wouldn't have this barracks, he'd obviously just run his dragoons in because there's no skirm threat, right? So he'd just run the dragoons in, but you just try and kill as many as possible, maybe to use TC fire, use Minutemen, and then once his dragoons are worn out, you'd ship 5 Huss and probably make 5 from the stable and just try and clean up as many skirms as possible and get ahead in that sense. But yeah, this basically just all came down to the taking fights, I think.
I took a couple bad fights. I want to say things to improve would be scouting, using my envoy, figuring out what H2 shipment is. Yeah.
So it's the first shipment of French is just so key because it literally determines what your strat's going to be. Because you don't go into like this matchup thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because Dutch is like the reactive civ in like the large majority of cases. So if you see wood, he's going to be like prepared for any push, so that's when you do the bank boom. And if you see vills, then you can do the 5 Huss 8 pike sort of strat. And That way you can just... that's if he goes forward. If he doesn't go forward, then I would just go boomy as well and try and take the TP with the woods just preemptively. And that way he has to either just give you a stagecoach for free or play a bit in colonial whilst you're aging up just to kill the TP.
So you would preemptively take that TP?
Yeah, with the 700 wood, I think. Just because there's just no reason not to, I guess. Because you're gonna have okay, so that's the wreck done. So you're gonna have the well, in that particular game you would have the market already and the hunting dogs. So you save 150 wood in that sense. Also, if you're going more boomy, you're gonna have more banks and therefore more coin income, right? Which means you're gonna be buying more wood. You could have the potential to buy more wood because you're just gonna have more coin, right? So you could easily just buy 200 wood, get a TP down, have the market already in that situation, and just preemptively get that third TP. And if he stagecoaches, that's good for you because you're gonna have one TP on wood or whatever. And if he doesn't, then he's just not gonna have the stagecoach eco, which is the way French sort of keeps up in eco in this matchup. If you're going for the bank boom. Now, the other option would be, if he does the 4-Vil build, forward stable, would be what you did. You'd kill the stable, maybe catch a few husks, that sort of thing. Let me go back to the video so you actually have something to look at. So he wouldn't have the barracks going down now, he'd just have the stable and the 1 TP. And he'd have 4 Vils.
Yeah, he did 4 Vils.
So this stable's a bit back, but I still think you can kill it with the 5 Huss, 8 Pike. And he's just going to be... That's going to give you such a huge window to age if you get that stable down. Or even just get more banks up before aging. So you would have done the 700 with 8 Pike, which is fine. That's good versus the 4 Vil build. And then versus the wood build, you do 700 with Bank Wagon, then 8 Pike. And then build the TP and perhaps just defend it and then try and age off the back of that. You might even be able to...
If he goes 700 wood, he's going to have the barracks and then... I mean, is he going to be staying?
No, wait, if you go 700 wood, as Dutch, you mean?
No, if he goes 700 wood first, then he's going to be going for a barracks as well as the stable.
Yeah, so he's
going to start musket production. It's like, what do you do as Dutch then? Do you drop a barracks and...
No, he's going to prioritise getting the cab batch out first, I think. I think that's his goal. But obviously he's not going to be able to get a good batch if he's, 1, making 5 cav, 2, doesn't have the 4 Vils in, and 3, if he's trying to get stagecoach, because that's usually like the build you do, because that's when he added the second TP, wasn't it, with the 700 wood, I believe.
Wood, yeah.
And I think he had stagecoach as well with that.
He had the TP, the stagecoach, and the barracks all at the same time. Yes.
So he's also going to spend 200 food, 200 wood on the stagecoach. I think he got it then, which means he's just ecoing, right? And with that build, he's not going to have enough wood for the third TP, which is where you build it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to deny stagecoach just by building it, and then he's going to have a smaller mass because he's paying for stagecoach and TPs and stuff, and having 4 Vils later, which gives you the opportunity to just build that TP, have 2 batches of Huss to just defend it, and perhaps call Minutemen if he try and kills it with like Musk and Huss and stuff, and then just age. And then you either age and he kills the TP and then follows you, which is like the best scenario for him. But you're set up with like 4 banks, age up before him. You can have a big window to like ship 9 Reuters, maybe even tech vet Huss, and just catch any units in colonial whilst he's aging, or even just siege the forward stable or racks or whatever.
Okay.
Because
in that situation, I usually don't know what to send first.
Yeah, so
is there like a rule of thumb of what you would be doing?
Yeah, so if he's gonna have more economic potential with the TPs and the CDB eco. You're going to have a bigger eco for the time being before that Stagecoach pays off and stuff, because he's going to get the third TP a bit delayed, right? And then so you have either the opportunity to drop 1k wood, build all your production facilities, maybe a 5th bank, or you have the option to do a bit of damage and then 1k wood after. And I'd favour the bit of damage first, because then he doesn't have this sort of tempo well, he doesn't have like this advantage where he can just pop 10 skirms, ship 8, make 5 goons with the Stagecoach eco, and then he's going to have like this forward base pressuring you, and you're going to feel contained. I feel like if you push out, tech Vet Huss, you're going to have 8 Vet Huss or 10 or whatever, have 9 Reuters, maybe even drop a Rax in transition and make 5 to 10 skirms and push with that. He's going to have like the units from Colonial, and he's going to be popping 10 skirms shortly, or 5 goons and 5 skirms or whatever. And I think if you got Vet Huss, 9 Reuters and 10 skirms, or I'm just this is just theory, but it's usually around that number, you're going to be able to catch any batch that comes out. And you also got to remember, his shipment's got to cross the entire map. So that's either going to be 8 skirm or 5 goon. So
you're saying I should push that Rax? And that
you should push the Rax.
TP first.
Yeah, I think so. You should push the Rax, and then once you feel like you're going to be overstaying your welcome, which is probably like when the shipment arrives and crosses the map, that's when you go back, kill the TP, 1k wood, drop the rest of your infrastructure, drop the TP, and then play it out from there. Because also that's going to delay his his Falk shipment, because he's going to have to remass to protect it, right? He's not going to be able to ship it second or whatever. You got a bit more time to deal with the Falks as well. So that would be the situation if he goes for the Stagecoach boom. Is there anything else I'd like to add? So the early game went well, but then you just overcommitted, and then it just sort of went to shit. But I like the strat at the start, but it's just ended up being like a huge overcommit, and then he punished that really well, and took advantage of that really well. So just to summarise, it is scouting what the French shipment is first, because that's the kind of the key thing about this matchup. Another would be herding, like that herd where your hero is now should have been herded a while ago, or even just scouted. Like that whole side should have been scouted.
Yep. And
the third one would be it's about taking fights. So it's about moving your melee units forward first before attack moving.
Yeah.
And the other one would be just having like your unit placement, like once you're aging or when you're stacking to age and stuff like that. Like you shouldn't be out of your base when you're aging, especially when you're outmassed in cav, because it's always a bit dicey. You could get caught at any second, and then that'll be a huge resource swing. So, he outgathered for quite a long time, actually. So if we go back to that graph, if you did the sort of delayed bank, like the delayed stable, and you did like the 3 or 4 banks, like the 3 banks, then stable, then bank, we're going to have 4 banks, you'd obviously be ahead in eco, and then he'd catch up later if you didn't punish his TP boom. So this res line would be a lot different if you had those sort of, if you herded better, obviously, and if you had those banks earlier. Because the Dutch build is sort of like a snowball build. Like the more banks you get, the more shipments you get. So if you're delaying those banks, you're sort of delaying your shipments as well. So they sort of go hand in hand. And once you build a bank, you kind of have like another shipment almost, or close to. And that's when you can just ship like bank wagon or 8 pike next. You could even just do like 3 banks and then ship 8 pikes after the wood if you think bank wagon then 8 pike is a bit too slow. And in fact, that's what I probably normally do. But it all just depends on your XP curve, I guess. Yeah. Have you got any questions or any comments you'd like to add, or?
No, just remember to herd. Because it's important.
Taking fights better and scouting.
And it was really good clicking deep with your melee units, because I don't do that very often.
Yeah, it's literally just clicking.
Move.
Go on.
Yeah, like a lot of people attack move, and then that's kind of the same thing as just right clicking on a unit. Your melee units get all jumbled up.
Yeah, they sort of like default. They don't go in the same formation anymore, and then just sort of lag behind. So yeah, that was sort of like a big thing. I wonder if I should do another replay.
I mean, I'm going to be playing the only boss in about an hour.
Oh, is that for the what's
Never
it called?
Mind. I don't play him for 3 hours.
Oh, for 3 hours. Okay. All right. I'm wondering if I should do another one. Do you have a replay, or?
I could go try to find one.
Yeah, you could do that, or I could get someone else's replay in the chat. Just PM me on Discord. My Discord is. Hold on. I'll just post it in the chat. That is my Discord. So if you've got any replays and you're like Major or Lieutenant Colonel Plus, that would be ideal. And then I could do one more, I think.